Welcome back, Red Spotters. This is episode 316 of Red Spotlight. I'm your host, Alexis Soto, joined by David Francisco, back with another recap of our weekly Falcon and the Winter Soldier recaps. Last time we talked about episode 4, which was the whole world watching, and today we're discussing episode 5, Truth. Remember, you can catch all our recaps usually on Thursdays, as we have episodes every single Sunday, sometimes Thursdays, anywhere you listen to podcasts, whether it be on YouTube, CastBox, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and Google. And I believe also Stitcher was one of the latest ones, from what Kyle tells me so. All right, and how we do these recaps is we talk about them in sequence. We'll have David here to recap the events of the episode as it happens, scene by scene. Before we will give our spoiler-free impressions. But before we get to any of that, we like to discuss all of the latest stuff that is making news when it comes to Marvel-related projects, and we've got a bunch of them to really get into this week. I'm going to start off with some of the quick ones, David, and then we can get into some of the bigger ones, which is going to actually require us a lot more thinking power, if you will, about what we feel is going to happen. So first and foremost, of course, we are in the midst of awards season. We've been doing our best to cover the awards films, although we have been really kind of working around some schedules that are not so friendly. But I do want to say that we will, at some point, present to you reviews of the awards nominated films, Promising Young Woman, The Father, and Minari, and Mank. Peter and I are trying our best to get to them. I've seen most of them, but we're just trying to work around when we can actually sit down and review them. We are aware, of course, that the Academy Awards are happening this weekend, and we will cover them as they happen. And we also are aware, of course, that we still have not turned in a top 10 movies of 2020 list. Well, I think we're going to match our previous record of waiting until halfway into the year, which I believe was back in 2018, when we waited until Memorial Weekend to actually release it. So if I were to take a bet right now, I think it wouldn't be released until after Memorial Day. But look, we're going to get to them when we get to them. There's just a bunch of things to cover. But we will cover them. That I guarantee you. But with the awards season, when it comes to Marvel, so Kevin Feige has confirmed to submit both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier at this year's Emmy Awards. Recall, of course, that, award season is kind of fragmented. Most of awards season happens in the beginning of the year, like right now, but then the Emmys have their own time, which is toward the end of the year, which is around September. So the way that it's going to go is, to avoid competing with each other, Marvel was going to submit these two shows in 2 different categories. Now, I think it's fair to say that Falcon and Winter Soldier, at the moment, as well as WandaVision, by most standards, would be qualified or classified, maybe that'd be a better word, in the genre of limited series. At least that's how I choose to view them as. But here it's a bit different to avoid clashing with each other. So, WandaVision, which had 9 episodes, is going to be submitted into limited series. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which has 6 episodes, will be submitted for Best Drama. Now, off the bat, I am a little bit confused, if only because, if memory serves correctly, unless the rules have changed recently, the Emmys have this, they have a list of stipulations. If you are 8 episodes and more, you are considered either a long-form series to be in the drama categories or in the comedy categories. But if you have less than 8 episodes, you are relegated to compete in the limited series category. And if that's the case, I'm a little confused, unless the Emmys are going to make an exception in this case, because Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to have less than 8 episodes, and WandaVision is going to have more. So I wonder if maybe you should switch those? Because, yes, go ahead, David.
Would it depend on the time? Because remember, WandaVision, has 9 episodes, but like the first couple of ones are like 30 minutes long or something, or less. So
that is another consideration, David, because you just reminded me of another rule. And again, I have to say that these rules, from what memory serves, this is going back at least 5 years. So I may be the one that's mistaken here, and they may have changed certain things. But I recall going back 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years, when they did change the rules, and they don't even classify things by like what they consider to be drama or comedy. You basically are placed between drama and comedy based entirely on your runtime. So if you happen to fall into the half-hour time slot of television, no matter if you lean more to drama or comedy, you're automatically assigned to comedy. If you're over 30 minutes and you're in the hour sweet spot, then you are in drama. Why these are the rules? I don't know. Are they still the rules? I also don't know if they've been altered since then, but that's the case. And to your point, Falcon and Winter Soldier does run your basic hour runtime of a network cable show. 42 minutes with commercials is an hour, so it technically qualifies as an hour show, so that would be a drama. You're right there. With WandaVision, because many of them were homages to sitcoms, many of them did in fact run closer to the half-hour traditional runtime that sitcoms ran. So it could be that played a part in Marvel deciding where to put them. I hadn't considered that, but you're right, that actually does matter a great deal. So there are those differences there as well. But I have to look. If The Mandalorian can get in, there's no excuse for these shows not getting nominated. Mm-hmm. Beforehand, I would say WandaVision and Falcon definitely deserve attention, but because they are under the Marvel umbrella, there's a stink to them, amongst these crowds, amongst these groups. They have this resistance to recognizing anything Marvel related because they consider them to be a threat to their business, to what they like or would like the film genre to be. It's a whole side debate that we've had before. But I'll tell you something. Like I said just now, if they nominated something like The Mandalorian, they better damn well nominate WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because they are far superior on just about every single level. Mm-hmm. Every single level. So we'll see how that goes. Although I will say it really doesn't matter because they're not going to win. Mm-hmm. Because I think both of those categories seem to be pretty locked when it comes to best limited series. The Queen's Gambit is sweeping everything, so it's going to win that for sure. Yeah. And drama, The Crown has been sweeping everything. Mm-hmm. So
another thing from like the rules of the category. Now, I mean, I don't know the rules too at all, really, so I'm just like spitballing here. Mm-hmm. But could they put WandaVision on limited series because it seems like it's only going to be one season, whereas with Falcon and Winter Soldier, there could be consecutive seasons going on. So
yes, the answer to your question is very much yes, because I believe I have, I didn't look into it, but I did see some chatter amongst some, groups that I take into high consideration that, there are no plans to do a season 2 of WandaVision. And I think that was very much what all of us had wanted, because it very much was a limited series. Mm-hmm. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I believe, I think it's heading toward a season 2. I think I think there was a headline in the past couple of days where one of the writers or directors of the series was actually thinking that, or not thinking, but he was flat out saying that there may be clues to what they could do with a season 2 in this coming finale. So at this moment, I would say the odds of Falcon and Winter Soldier season 2 happening are very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I can guess what they could do when we get to the episode that I explain.
Right. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, to be frank with it, but yeah. But still, Disney Plus is a hot thing right now. I suspect The Mandalorian was nominated in most part because in many ways it was the biggest show in television, and everybody was watching it at the same time. And you know how they are. But I mean, in my view, they kind of went overboard because it wasn't just the Emmys. Every single guild nominated that show. I mean, I believe The Mandalorian, and this may be an award that is, to an extent, I think well-deserved, but I think a few weeks ago it did win a Screen Actors Guild Award for stunt coordination. Quite frankly, there's better stunt coordination on TV, but if you want to give The Mandalorian an award, better that than writing, which the Writers Guild Award did nominate for Best Drama, and I still consider that to be just ludicrous on any level, on any realistic level. So, yeah, there is that. Speaking of how the show is doing, we want to also mention FAIRE Analytics. And we had talked about some of their findings in weeks past on the WandaVision recaps. So when everyone was talking about how WandaVision was the biggest show on the world, on the planet, FAIRE Analytics is the firm that released that. Remember, FAIRE Analytics is their own analytic firm. They have their own way of tabulating results. We're in this age where there are various different ones. We think Samba TV was another one we dropped on, when it came to the Justice League numbers. There's so many different analytic firms right now that are teaming up with bigger names to create some kind of ratings. Nielsen is another one of those that has their own ratings. So, and again, there's a distinction between US and world. So there's a lot of things, and I will do my best to give you guys the honest truth about like where this is coming from. That way you know that it's not coming out of my ass, because but also to take this with a grain of salt. But to be fair, FAIRE Analytics, again, this is the same firm that declared WandaVision the biggest show in the world a few weeks back. We talked about this on the show, and this is the same firm that also said the same thing of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back in 2018? Yeah, 2018, that it was the biggest Marvel show at the time. And what they have to say now is the Disney Plus original Marvel Cinematic Universe series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, finally reached #1 on FAIRE Analytics Digital Originals US chart the week ended April 17th. Now they've teamed up with with another analytics firm, and they're trying to release weekly figures out, and they have different charts, whether it be all shows, and then they have one separate for original shows. And the chart that they had released for original shows, this is the first time that they actually showed Falcon and Winter Soldier, reaching #1. Which, it ain't all that unexpected, but good news for them. I think it's well assumed that the show is doing very well. So, yeah, there's another metric to show that Falcon and Winter Soldier is doing very well. Of course, with, we talked about even the numbers that I think what's on Disney Plus, which I think they do gather the trending tab that Disney Plus has on there, and that can only be trusted so much. But remember what they had said: Falcon and Winter Soldier was #1, so which I imagine it would be. So there is that. So those are the two big ones off the top, but we have even more news to get into. And this comes. Let's get into Secret Invasion. This is shaping up to be quite the event. We had a lot of ambiguity about what this is going to be, who was going to feature, not just as actors, but as characters. I know there was some criticism on the part of Peter Martinez that relegating the storyline of Secret Invasion from the comics to a Disney Plus show feels weird, because from what he tells me, Secret Invasion is a massive event in the Marvel universe, in the Marvel Comics universe. And then last December, I think, during the investors call or the investor presentation, Kevin Feige did say that the Secret Invasion TV show that he is building is not going to compare in any way whatsoever to the seismic event that the comics featured. So already there is an admission that they're going for something a little bit more small scale. So there was that. The entire time we've known that Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury and Ben Mendelsohn as Talos would be returning, and for a long time, they were the only 2 cast members that were confirmed. At the same time, we have referenced certain reports that are out there by sites that are smaller and not exactly the kind of ones that you want to be caught citing or referencing, but we had talked about it for the sake of rumor's sake, right? And that was that characters like Daredevil, characters like Clark Greggs Coulson and Chloe Bennett's Quake, Daisy Johnson, were going to be involved in this show some way, somehow. Again, I want to highly stress, when it came to those 3 characters, these came from several sources, but all of them very small town publications that have a track record of, well, let me just say that the track record wasn't shitty to the point of we got this covered. Mm-hmm. I want to get that out of the way with. It's not we got this covered. That's not where I got this from, because that site is just the epitome of trash. You never listen to what they say. So I know for a fact it's not that. But it also is nowhere near being confirmed on any level whatsoever. So putting those 3 characters off to the side, what has been coming from the official trades in the form of Variety and other publications is some big names joining the series. So first of all, a month ago, it was revealed that Kingsley Ben-Adir, and we talked about his performance recently on the show with Peter. When we reviewed the film One Night in Miami, he played Malcolm X. To me, I thought that was the show-stealing performance of the film, and I am quite surprised that he has not been getting more recognition during the awards. I know that One Night in Miami in general had not been performing as well as other movies throughout the award season, and I know that they had settled on Leslie Odom Jr. as their main mascot, or as their main chance to, like, I guess, get nominated. And I felt that they had to do that because he was the biggest name, because of Hamilton fame and everything. But the best performance, to me anyway, of that movie was Kingsley Ben-Adir. He was an amazing force of nature. I believe you've also seen the film, right, David?
Yeah. I texted you guys about it.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I really thought all of them did amazing.
I agree.
I really can't pick one.
Okay.
But no, for sure, the guy who played Malcolm X, like, he was amazing in it. And
he's apparently supposed to be playing the main villain here in Secret Invasion.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine, well, that, I don't know. I can't imagine, because I still don't know, like, who are the main villains? Is it a sleeper cell of Skrulls? Is it the Kree? What's going on here?
Yeah, and the Skrulls, I think, are the main villains in the Secret Invasion comics.
But then in the MCU, they flipped that entirely when it came to Captain Marvel, where the Kree were the bad guys and the Skrulls were the good guys. So that's interesting. So we had Kingsley Ben-Adir. And then, as recently as this week, Olivia Colman, Queen Elizabeth herself from The Crown, is in talks to join the series as well. But wait, there's more. It ain't just her. It ain't just one queen. We got another queen, Queen Daenerys. I think that was only ever a thing for like a day, and then she was killed, right? Queen Daenerys. That was the shortest reign I've ever seen. Queen Emilia Clarke is also in talks, or I think maybe even at this point confirmed, to join Secret Invasion. David, I am kind of floored by the talent that they have acquired for this. And you know what? Like, they're getting actors. I didn't think that they would even agree to be in a Marvel movie. And I don't know if maybe there's just more of a prestige value that you're going to be on a television show, on a streaming show. I mean, sure, in some cases there is that. But it's insane. It's off the heels of, small spoiler for the episode, so I'm going to skip ahead maybe like 10 seconds, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus, out of nowhere, joined the MCU here with this episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So it's interesting, like, because these are just actors I never thought that they would be able to get, you know, like that, and that's exciting to me.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it might be easy to get those kinds of actors if it's like a one-time thing. So I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen to them, especially the guy, who possible villain of the story. I mean, he could die in the end, so it's like a
Sure.
Yeah, no, but so far, like, the one that I got excited the most though was Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
Hers, I was just like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Like, what is she gonna do?
I know, right? There was some speculation that she may actually be playing another queen here, like the Queen Scroll or something like that, which would be so on point, wouldn't it?
That would be cool. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but I mean, right now, I'm just mostly curious, like, who the characters are going to be. I mean, I know nothing about Secret Invasion, so I probably don't know who the characters are. But I mean, what the heck are they going to bring to this role? That's the big thing for me.
Yeah. To my knowledge, they still have not selected a team to direct the episodes or produce it. So I think they're still I think they're still searching for. They may be in the final rounds. I think the news that Emilia Clarke and Olivia Colman will be on the show came out like one day after the other. So I think they're ramping up casting, and they're getting pretty close to production. So it's getting close to it. And honestly, like, I'm just happy because this was the show that, you know, before we realized how wonderful WandaVision and Falcon were going to be. This was the show that I was like really looking forward to. And now with Wanda and Falcon being as good as they were, expectations have only just like risen because of the quality of these two shows. And also just the cast. I mean, I love these actors. And it's just like, it's the kind of stuff that gets you excited about what's going to be on here. Still having no understanding what the hell this is even going to be.
Yeah.
But, and again, the only thing that would, and again, when it came to the S.H.I.E.L.D. characters or Daredevil, can they be involved? Sure.
Yeah.
Will they? I don't know, but I guess we'll see what happens. If they are confirmed, I'll tell you something. That would be a beautiful day. I would be dancing in the streets if that happened. But who knows? Who knows? I'm stoked for this show, and I think it is going to be another 6-episode one, which that would be more leaning to 42-minute episodes, as it were. So yeah, Emilia Clarke. I wonder what she is going to be doing with this. Because I imagine that we're going to be seeing a lot of Skrulls. We're going to be seeing a lot of Kree. So like, I guess you could deduce that maybe there's villains on both sides. I don't know. Maybe like Olivia Colman, the Queen Skrull, is instigating some kind of insurrection on her side, and then maybe there's Kingsley Benadir who's playing a Kree. Maybe he's one of the accusers, like Ronan was, and maybe he's trying to exterminate Kree where they are. I don't know. Like, maybe they're going for something like that. But I don't know. Like, there is just something about to the level of quality that these last Disney Plus shows with Marvel have been, like, where I think I'm getting a lot more excited for what they plan to do on Disney Plus as far as MCU is concerned than maybe the movies themselves, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with these actors and the characters and everything, but like, it really just depends on like what kind of show it's going to be, you know, because like you can, when WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier was coming out, like you can tell right away, like, oh, you know what they're going to deal with, you know, like kind of the theme, I guess, the message of what the story is going to be. With Loki and Secret Invasion, I don't know what they can do.
I guess the best we can guess at the moment is what the feeling is they're trying to capture. When we saw Loki, it was very weird. It was very alien, kind of like, okay, but it looked like a lot of fun. Secret Invasion, we haven't seen any footage because there is none. But based on everything we're hearing, it feels like they're going to be, because it's featuring Skrulls. Like, it feels like an espionage thriller, I would imagine.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, I don't know. I mean, I want to say like it is going to be maybe like about a war, like the closest thing. I don't know why. Just like the thing that popped in my mind, it was like a Cold War type of story.
Right.
I don't know.
I do want to say, at the risk of, I hope I don't jinx anything here, but there was this small rumor, and I'm going to say this is fake because this rumor didn't have even a site, and I can't find it anywhere. But I've noticed some people on my timeline on Twitter sharing this around. It was some guy that posted it anonymously somewhere, but he had no publication behind him. It was just this person. And usually that means nothing. But he was saying that, and I better hope it means nothing because it's kind of pretty awful, but it may actually be something that you suggested a few weeks back when we discussed this whole issue of Chloe Bennett. And this person was saying, again, with no evidence, with no background, with no history whatsoever, he just said, I've heard that they are going to have Quake in Secret Invasion, but it's not going to be Chloe Bennett. They're going to be looking for a new actor, which is a possibility you had suggested, I believe, a few weeks back of what they could do. And I'm pretty confident that this is not going to happen. Like, I think the odds are better that they don't have Quake at all than to have another actor play her. Because first and foremost, I think based on comments that Kevin Feige made a few weeks back, I think I want to say it was early March, late February, when he recognized the fan bases of some of the Marvel Entertainment series like S.H.I.E.L.D. and Daredevil and Jessica Jones. It just seems like a mistake, a major PR mistake for Feige to do that. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if it's going to cause or spark major backlash or widespread backlash, but there will be a backlash of some sort. And I will just say, if that is the direction that they go into, I will be absolutely devastated if they do that. Because now you could say, well, maybe it's multiverse and maybe they'll do some we don't even know if multiverse is going to be involved in Secret Invasion. That could be a possibility. Who fucking knows? But yeah, I would not like that at all. And I think if they did announce that they were going to replace Chloe Bennett, I don't think I would be able to speak for a couple of days if that's what they do, you know? Because like, I don't know, it kind of feels a little bit unfortunate that the overall legacy of this show that you and I like so much, David, is kind of like dependent on what Kevin Feige decides to do with it, because a lot of people look to him to decide and make up their minds about what they take seriously and what they choose to view. And I think as we have been talking about these last few weeks, a lot of people are finding the show, not here in the US, but all over the world on streaming now because it's all available to them. But I fear that if you're going to recast these actors, it's only just going to give people further incentives to just avoid even watching this show. I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about doing that. And yeah, but again, this is coming from not even a source. It was just some guy. And a lot of people were like spreading it around like, they better not fucking do this. They better not fucking do this. What do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't like that too if they recast it and everything, but I mean, I don't. I mean, I agree with you what you said that what was it, like relying on Kevin Feige's word basically of whether or not this show could stand or is basically canon.
Right.
Like, I definitely agree with you on that. That really kind of sucks. I just kind of wish they would accept it. That
I know,
it is canon and all that. Because, I mean, I don't know. I feel like nothing in the show really did affect anything in the MCU, really.
Of course, yeah.
So, like, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I know the big one is
there were Inhumans, but the Inhumans never came to the movies.
Yeah.
And there's still no mention of Inhumans. And even to the point, there has been legitimate conversation that they have changed the backstory for Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. They're not going to make her inhuman.
Yeah.
In the MCU, I mean. So.
I wonder what they're going to do with that. That's weird.
I mean, that's as far as I know. So.
And I know that, yeah, like I said, that they have the Inhumans in the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. The one they can't throw away is the Inhumans show. Limited series thing.
Oh, please. It's in the garbage. It was in the garbage years ago.
I mean, I think everyone forgot about it, but they can definitely like redo.
Did you and I ever review the season?
I think we did.
We did, right? At one point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like we had to because we saw it.
Okay, just making sure. If you want to look for the interview, it was hilarious. I mean, but the review, it was hilarious. It's somewhere on the feed.
I know. I mean, I know for sure we must have talked about it or something. I don't know. But I mean, they can retry to do that story again. The Inhumans on another planet and all that. Just don't put it in the moon. Put it in another planet or something. Different solar system. I don't know. Whatever.
It's a shame because in many ways I feel like Inhumans is so big. I mean, the idea of Inhumans, like, they should not have bothered an ABC television version of this. They should have saved this. Like, Disney should have had the brain smarts to have told Ike Perlmutter, Jeff Loeb, and Channing Dungey from ABC, look, guys, you don't have the budget to do this. We have this streaming service that's going to be up online in a few years. This is kind of perfect for what we want to present on Disney Plus, but with an actual budget. So let us take this. Disney should have realized this and saved that, because they let ABC, and I don't even blame ABC. I mean, but it was all Ike Perlmutter and Jeff Loeb and then Scott Buck, the showrunner, that just ran it into the ground. It was an abysmal failure on every level imaginable. So much so that it just created the stink. It is by far the worst thing Marvel has ever done. Maybe in the modern era. I'm talking about post 2008. I don't know if there were anything before. I mean, I guess Fan Four Stick, but that's the Fox Marvel, and there's that. There are other bad movies. There are other bad shows for sure, but like, this is loosely related to the MCU. This was under the umbrella of Disney, and I can say it is the worst thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but there was some other interesting news, because you and I have always gone back and forth, and we talked about this when we were discussing S.H.I.E.L.D. about this canon question. I was reading this article that, and I believe I did share it with you, right, David? There was this weird headline, and I found it weird because it was actually kind of complimentary towards S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's not really what we're used to. But I think I shared it with you yesterday, and it went something like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this is by Screen Rant, Falcon and the Winter Soldier shows Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was right to ignore the blip. It's an interesting read, but that's not really what I want to get into. There was something in that article that was information that was kind of new to me, about how Jeff Loeb himself, the executive producer for the show and then all of the Marvel Entertainment shows, he has his own explanation for why he feels the shows are connected to the movies, but doesn't really give super details about it. But one of the interesting things he did say, and that I think I must have read this before, but I forgotten it. He says that everything that happens, I think, Season 5, maybe even Season 6, all of that happens, if you want to think that it happens in the MCU, it happens before the snap. Like, when I first read that comment, I was thinking, is he saying that all 7 seasons take place before the snap? Except, and that may make sense up until the very end, where Fitz confirmed that he used the quantum realm to jump in between timelines. And it was my impression and I believe also Jed Whedon's impression, who, was the executive producer and showrunner of that show, that the snap happened while the team was jumping back in time, and then Fitz saved them. That's how he was able to find the quantum realm and take them back. Now, that's if you want to apply that the show does exist within those movies. That's how I've come to see it. Other people were talking about, of course, that in season 5, there were direct mentions to the Thanos' Black Order attacking New York, and then also Thanos himself was name dropped by Cassius, the Kree guy. So, and it seemed like it was very imminent. Those episodes aired very closely to when Avengers Infinity War was released in theaters. I believe even Kyle was, one of the things that he was complaining about is, what the fuck is, why, like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are having this battle in Chicago with Mini-Zod or General Talbot as Graviton, while supposedly the Battle of Wakanda is happening. I don't know. That's how what we thought was happening simultaneously. But I guess you could retroactively say that all of season 5 for sure happens before the snap. And I guess you could say with the Thanos name drop, well, Thanos has been coming for Earth for a long time, so you can't really say like it's close. There was this one instance where they said, I think there was even a mention in the show that Loki and Thor were spotted in New York when they came back from the future. So there is that. There was this moment that, as we talked about, how they talked about the Black Order attacking New York, and I guess you kind of have to like ignore that happened, because season 6 takes place 1 year after season 5. So what I find interesting as a fan of this show is that there are many like explanations from the various different people involved on the show for how they rationalize it existing within the confines of the MCU. And then it kind of fosters an interesting conversation with you and I, David, as fans of the show, to see how you and I even justify it. Of course, there's a lot of like things you have to overlook to even get there, because it's not a perfect fit in any one of these situations. And I have to stress, of course, these people, these poor people, tried 3 different times to address the events that happened in the films, but they weren't allowed to. And I think for good reasons, because they would spoil what happened in the movies, because they were airing at the same time as the movies. So I say this because as a fan, it keeps being brought up, and every time it keeps being brought up, there's like a different explanation to this, or a different like way you can kind of, wink and maybe see something. What your reaction to Jeff Loeb saying that most of the show happens before the snap, and if you even buy that, or what you think yourself, would you even apply to it?
I don't buy that at all. And honestly, like when you were explaining it, like how the timeline was working, I just got confused. Like I know.
I'm
not kidding you. Like my brain,
it's confusing.
Just couldn't compute what you were saying. Like what? Wait, huh?
Well, wait. Okay, let me see if I can do a better job. If we're going to take what Loeb said at face value, and I'm going to apply what I know Jed Whedon said about the finale, and what they were implying about the finale, we know that in the series finale of the show, Fitz uses the quantum realm, and in a deleted sequence, he was going to address that the snap happened. It happened while the team was jumping through time or different realities. So I'm basically combining what Jed Whedon said with what Jeff Loeb said. And I don't think if it's the fact that they had shot this already disproves what Loeb said. But let's say we take a variation, and I'm going to say, all right, seasons 5 and 6 take place before the snap happened, and the snap happens while they're out of the way and they're traveling in time. Does that make it more understandable?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. I was getting lost myself, but I was trying.
Yeah, I mean, it's still. I mean, not that your explanation was bad, but it's still confusing just in general.
Is.
Like,
it's not perfect. It's not a perfect fit by any means.
Takes place before the snap because I'm like, you're cutting it close.
You are.
The events right there.
Mm-hmm.
And
if we can excuse Spider-Man Homecoming stupidly saying it takes place 8 years after the Avengers, we can excuse this 1 year later mishap. Remember?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. That's a really good point.
I'm just putting that out there, like, because I remember being in that theater in 2017 when the movie opened. I was like, no, that's not true. It does not take place 8 years after the Avengers. We're in the wrong year. What happened? So, semantics, people. What do you expect? That being said, I know the footage exists. I know that they've released season 7 on DVD, I think, but I don't think that it was included. I hope that they release the extended version of that finale at some point, because remember that extended version included like everyone individually saying goodbye to Deke, which I would have loved to have seen. And then of course it had Fitz including like mentioning the snap and everything, which I think a lot of us wanted to see happen. So I hope they release that at some point.
Mm-hmm. Did they? I don't know if they if it was just an idea or they actually shot it, but of a scene of Deke, like it's in his timeline, and they're like calling him director, and he has
Jeff
like an eye
Ward.
patch.
Yeah, you go ahead, finish this.
And he had the eye patch on, like he was trying to be the next Nick Fury and all that. Did they actually shoot that, or was it just an idea?
That was an idea that Jeff Ward was heavily pitching to the people. He was lobbying for it, but they didn't shoot it. But if they had included that as a tag, that would have made it that much more perfect of a finale if they had done that.
Especially for his. Oh my god!
In my headcanon, that's what happened.
Oh, he would for sure do something like that.
Yep. Yeah, it's a shame that didn't get filmed. Damn. That's funny. Good times. S.H.I.E.L.D. is available to watch on Disney Plus if you are listening around the world, and if not, it is available on Netflix. All 7 seasons. So, amazingly, we still have more news when it comes to Marvel. So, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is just about as perfect a movie you can get.
Yeah.
David and I have a commentary on this on the channel. That is, I think, maybe our favorite conversation we've had together on this show. Highly recommend you go listen to it. I've got a poster of it behind me that I paid like over $100 for, the Mondo version of it. I love this movie. Who doesn't love this movie? And so the sequel, to me anyway, that's the Spider-Man movie I'm really looking forward to and really excited about. And so they have some new people who are going to be joining the team, the directing team in particular, for Into the Spider-Verse. And rest assured, while Peter Ramsey and some of the others are not coming back to direct, they are still involved in the project. And then we also have some new blood that have, in my view, some pretty stellar credentials as far as I'm concerned. So here we are. The people who are joining as directors are Kemp Powers, Joaquim Dos Santos, and and Justin K. Thompson. Let me give you the background for these people. Kemp Powers, just recently, as far as this year, his main credits include writing the screenplay for One Night in Miami, which is great, and you can go watch on Amazon Prime, and then also co-writing the screenplay and co-directing Disney Pixar's Soul, which is very good, and you can watch now on Disney Plus. So that's great. Then you have Joaquim Dos Santos, and he is primarily had a career in directing television animation. What television animation, you may ask? Well, Justice League Unlimited, Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, and the recent Voltron series on Netflix.
I love the Voltron show. It's great, by the way. Yes.
Is it still going?
Actually, I loved all the shows that you just mentioned. It's incredible. Holy shit.
Isn't it? Yeah. And Justin K. Thompson, who this is his first time, I think, actually co-directing anything. He's primarily has a background in production design, in animation production design, including the first Into the Spider-Verse movie. So he's getting a major, like an elevated role here from not just being production designer, but co-directing Into the Spider-Verse. Peter Ramsey, who co-directed the first movie, is returning as executive producer alongside Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who are also coming back to write the screenplay. I love this news, David, don't you?
This is like, I was honestly like so fucking worried that Lord and Miller weren't going to
come back,
sort of come back and anything, especially because, like, you know, we saw Lego Movie 2, and although we enjoyed it, it didn't hit as hard as the first one. Like,
I forget that movie at all, honestly. I kind of forget it even watching it. It was good, it was enjoyable, but it didn't leave any impact on me.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing I was worried about for Spider-Verse 2. It's like, oh my gosh, you have a perfect movie already, and you have to make something better. Good luck. But the fact that, you know, that they're writing the script for this, you got this powerhouse team of directors in it. Like, oh my gosh, they're almost setting the they're setting the bar really high now for me.
Astronomically high.
Oh my god.
Astronomically high. That was the best way to phrase this, David. This powerhouse team right here. Like, look at the background here. Soul, when in Miami, Into the Spider-Verse, Legend of Korra, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Voltron, Justice League Unlimited. Like, honestly, and for some in particular, for like, honestly, all of them. Good. Thank you, Amy Pascal and the people at Sony for trusting, I guess, Lord and Miller. And I have to imagine that Lord and Miller on some level have had to have champion for these people, because this is, I think, especially for somebody like Joaquim Dos Santos, who is basically just like a TV animation guy, and him getting the chance to co-direct a big animated movie like this, like, that never happens. Mm-hmm. You never get to, and it should happen a lot more, but it never happens. You got Justin K. Thompson, who is a production designer for animation, and getting the chance to co-direct this. This is fantastic news.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. Like, you don't see these stories more often, because, you know, the medium of animation just doesn't have the same kind of esteem that it has in other places in the world as it does here. Sure, it makes a lot of money, and it's very popular, but it still has this stigma that people have against it for whatever reason, which, you know, unfortunately was the reason why a lot of people kind of ignored Into the Spider-Verse when it first came out in theaters, and then only found it later at home and realized, what the fuck? How did I miss this? Well, because you don't take animation seriously, and this is what happens.
Honestly, I regret watching Spider-Verse only once in the theater. Like, that should have been something I should have watched like 5 times.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But, oh my gosh. No, but again, like, they got me so fucking excited for this movie now.
It's like not only faith restored, but expectations are just super, super high at this point. I love this team. I absolutely love this team, and I cannot wait to see it. This is the Spider-Man movie that I'm really looking forward to. Spider-Man No Way Home looks fun, but I'm curious to see what they actually do with that. I know Peter, I was speaking with him the other day, and he was very depressed because apparently he read some plot leaks, which is what he does. And he got very sad because it was exactly what he didn't want it to be. But hey, I'm sure it'll be at least fun. So we'll see that. What am I forgetting? Oh, if we're done with this, we got a trailer to discuss, right?
Yep.
So, David, talk about the trailer for Shang-Chi.
So I I don't really know not much about this character at all. So watching this trailer, I knowing about the movie, I really have no idea what to expect from this. So watching the trailer, it got me really, really excited. Just because already they're showing just kind of like who this character is and what they've been through, and it's like, holy shit. But then also the world that you're seeing now is very, very interesting because like it's a mix of it looks almost as if magic and technology in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an interesting thing to do. But what I'm kind of excited though is like it seems like they're trying really hard to get the fighting right. Just recently, apparently someone asked the guy playing what's his name?
The Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi, yeah.
Simu Liu.
Yeah, him.
Simu Liu.
Like, yeah, someone like asked him on Twitter, how many takes did this, is this practical, and how many takes did you do? And there was a scene in a trailer where he catches a knife like midair during a fight. And apparently it is practical. It's not CGI. The knife isn't CGI. And it took him like 175 takes just to do that one little trick. So it seems like they're really trying hard to really make this into a great fighting movie to the level of what is it, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which is the one movie everyone will try to compare it to.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's they're really trying to put some mystery into this world of Shang-Chi, and I'm excited.
I thought it was a very good trailer. I think first of all, we know for a fact that this film wasn't shot near a concentration camp in China, so that's a win off the bat. So good for them. I saw some backstage photos, some aerial photos of the sets. And yes, I'm being real. They build actual sets on the Georgia lot for this. Of course, they had like blue screen as they usually do, but they actually built some sets for some of the locations that I have to assume take place in China, at least in the story. And I'm actually quite happy about that because I've been saying that Marvel far too often relies on CGI parking lots to film most of their stuff. And I think there's a lot to be said for building actual sets. And I hope to see more of that in this movie. So off the bat, I'm excited about this. And it reminded me a lot of the Black Panther trailer where it showed off this new world, this new people. Although it is different because, the Wakandans primarily rely on technology, but this felt very mystical, there was, I guess, maybe some tech, but mostly it just felt like it was some kind of an ancient order of sorts. And again, I don't know anything about Shang-Chi. I think most people wouldn't know. I didn't know anything about these characters' comics origins until I saw the movies, and then I saw videos, and then I was educated on where these characters come from. From what I understand, there are a lot of things in the old Shang-Chi comics that are unfortunate and can't be translated, and I'm talking unfortunate in the sense of they're not very PC. Yeah, there's some very unfortunate stereotypes that are in those comics. But as far as this is concerned, the visual fighting style is what catches your eye. There are some sequences that happen where there are these huge battles that were like, whoa, I want to see more of that. There's some very clear homages to certain fighting styles that are not, they clearly are not CG, that are practical, and I love that. Simu Liu looks great. For what we got of Awkwafina, I happen to love Awkwafina. I think she's kind of great in anything that she's in. She was amazing in Raya and the Last Dragon. I think she was fantastic in The Farewell. I guess apparently she's going to be playing Scuttle in The Little Mermaid. Is that who she's confirmed, or am I getting that mixed up? I think Awkwafina was going to be in The Little Mermaid cast somewhere, or voicing a character. Maybe it was something else. I'm not too sure about that. That'd be cool. Anyway, she's great. a lot of mystery, obviously, to like what this order is, and then the whole thing with the 10 rings and what I mean, because the 10 rings, from what I gather, isn't at least what I assumed was an organization, but then like there was somebody that was, I guess the 10 rings literally give you power. So just gathering from what I saw in the trailer. Now I was a little confused. Is his father, Shang-Chi's father, is he the Mandarin, or was there somebody else that was the Mandarin? The Mandarin is the main bad guy in this movie, right? Or is he just a side villain and he'll be a main villain in the future films?
He could be. It could be that. I mean, I don't know. Mandarin. He's like a big villain that I feel like you shouldn't use him in the first one.
Right. I mean, he is going to be in the movie, right?
Yeah,
they did say that.
Yeah. Apparently, you see him in the trailer. Very brief. You see like a guy. There's like the rings behind him, but like not like the actual rings, like a wall representing the rings. Apparently that might be him. But it seemed as if, from the trailers, I kind of got the idea that the Mandarin is his dad. Again,
or
I know nothing
not,
of the character.
Well, because I don't think the Mandarin was the same actor as the father. So I think maybe like the father is like a very high up person in the organization. Maybe. I don't know. I can't really tell.
Yeah. I mean, that's my favorite thing about the trailer though too. It's like I really don't know nothing.
Yeah, me neither. But go ahead, David.
I was gonna say, like, one thing I'm kind of interested the most in the movie is that the whole movie was basically shot during the pandemic.
That's true.
Yeah, and so like I'm curious, afterwards if there were any setbacks in the movie, or they changed a lot of things from the story because of it, or I don't know.
We talked about in the finale of WandaVision that there were some very clear instances that the pandemic affected the filming of it. We talked about Catherine Hahn being on that billboard for way too long. And then I think Darcy was CG in that like one and only shot that she had in the last episode. So I'd be curious to see how much it did impact the production. And it wasn't the only movie. I mean, Spider-Man 3's been filming. I think they already filmed Spider-Man 3. They already finished Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, yeah.
Eternals, I think at least the tailwind of it was filmed during the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, the thing though with Shang-Chi is that it was filmed in New Zealand. I heard that.
That's right.
And so they took care of the pandemic problem very, very quickly. So like, who knows just how much?
What, like 20 people died overall in New Zealand of COVID-19, while we had 500,000 people that died. Jesus. So
I mean, I don't think it really affected that much of the movie. So again, we'll see. I'm very curious if there was any setbacks.
So what you're saying, David, is we should all move to New Zealand.
Yes. I mean, I thought that was clear from the moment they were like, they shut New Zealand down as soon as the case went, the numbers were going up.
I know. New Zealand is, I think, in many ways, the best country on the earth when it came to how they handled the pandemic. And I think if I had the resources, I think I would have moved there already. Just like have left this place in the dust and everything. Yeah. I guess I hope that Awkwafina isn't gonna follow in the footsteps of Lupita Nyong'o and Rachel McAdams, and that she's like just the friend or a love interest, and she's there for like the beginning, and then she kind of is dropped by the time the movie is over. I think Marvel has a bad habit of doing that. Like, you're getting great actors, but you're giving them nothing to do. You're just having them stand there, say some lines, and have no real impact on the story. The same thing happened with Lupita Nyong'o and Rachel McAdams, especially. And even for the most part, Natalie Portman, although Natalie Portman did have more to do, and she's going to have more to do now. But before, she kind of was just dropped, at the end of Thor: The Dark World. So I hope that she's just not one of those there. But overall, I look, this is a Gonna come out Labor Day. It still has not been officially confirmed. It will be in theaters, but they have not said as to whether or not it'll also be on Premiere Access. I think that depends largely on how Black Widow performs on Premiere Access. And that also depends if Disney still decides to put Black Widow on Premiere Access. Depending on how some of these other movies do before Black Widow comes out in July, I think at least they'll be having some kind of conversations to just maybe put that in theaters only, if that's the case. If not, well, we'll see what happens. So, but I think we're still on target to have, I think, the 4 Marvel films this year, with Black Widow coming out in July. I think at this point we're at the point where they're not going to move anymore. I think they're kind of set in stone now. I think that the pandemic is not over by any means, but it has gotten to a manageable enough position to where maybe we can start to have a bit of faith in these release dates. Black Widow in July, Shang-Chi in September, and I know Spider-Man 3 Christmas, but when does Eternals come out? November, I think?
I don't remember.
It's a lot of Marvel movies that close together.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. And then when you put that with the Disney Plus shows, which is Loki the last one we're getting this year as far as the Disney Plus Marvel show?
I think so.
Because it's kind of a bummer. I'm really liking these shows.
I know. They're great. But I mean, hopefully the excitement gets them thinking of putting in more shows that they probably didn't think of.
Oh, I mean, I think we're going to discuss right now. There's a lot of shows that they're planning for Disney Plus, but hopefully they start ramping them up far more, on a far more frequent basis.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Premiere Access or not, by the time that this come out in Labor Day, things should be really good to the point where we can celebrate that this film exists, and we can't ignore the significance of it. You know, this is this is Marvel's first Asian superhero, and it's a big deal, especially for the Asian community who has been robbed of some big films from going out to the movies. With Mulan, which, I mean, I guess maybe we can't complain too much about that because it was kind of crap. But then Raya and the Last Dragon, and honestly, like, to my knowledge, Peter is the only person that didn't like the movie in our group.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, people really, really, really liked Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah.
But no one saw the movie. Even less people saw Raya than they saw Mulan. Nobody saw it on Disney Premier Access. Nobody saw it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? Yeah, they I don't know. This I guess you could understand Black Widow, but this movie better stay in theaters.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, David, we're an hour and 7 minutes into this. Maybe we should start talking about... we had a lot of news. Hey,
yeah.
There's a lot of things to discuss. Let's get into our initial impressions of Episode 5 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, titled Truth. At the risk of maybe sounding a bit too presumptuous, I don't know. I think that the show is continuously topping itself week to week. This was an amazing episode. Mm-hmm. Outstanding sequences of characters just sitting down, having a back and forth. It featured kind of everything of what the show is doing so great. I had an amazing action sequence off the bat, but then it delved into some really insightful and powerful exchanges of characters that spoke to, larger truths. This episode is called Truth, but larger truths in our own society here, in the whole history of America. And it also featured a lot of wonderful character moments for our main character. Really heavy focus on Sam Wilson and what he is planning to do. And then also wonderful setup and Easter eggs for what is to come in the future for these Marvel shows. I thought it was outstanding. I loved it. I am loving this show so much. We have spent weeks here talking about how there are a subset of people who are not enjoying it, and I honestly am at a loss for as to why they feel that way. It's their right to feel that way, but I can't, quite frankly, cannot relate to. It may be that my expectations were so low. That was a given, but this show is legitimately good, and it is delving into some social commentary that I, quite frankly, am not used to Marvel even going as far as they have. We have, you and I, as well as other members of our team here, have been critical. Again, recognizing that none of us are black voices. You know, we can't speak with that authority to as far as, and I'm referring to Black Panther, is concerned. And we have had issues with Black Panther. You know, they bring up certain things about the black community, but the film didn't really delve into those issues. I think this show is doing a much better job at having and facilitating a conversation about what it means to be a black man in the 21st century, and especially in America, better than what Black Panther did. That may be shots fired. That may be a hot take, but I think this is a far superior conversation being had when it came to that, to that part of it. David, your thoughts on this episode?
I really liked it. I kind of like that we kind of slowed down a bit in this episode.
Yeah.
Just so, I mean, a part of it is probably because the next episode just going to be some heavy CGI or something for the action scenes and everything. But I loved all the character interactions that we had, especially between Sam and Bucky. Those were honestly some of the best. But also though this is one of the moments that I've been waiting for in the whole show with Sam interacting with someone in this episode that really it really hits on the social commentary of this country. And yeah, I mean honestly, yeah, I really like that we slowed down in this.
An interesting timing. Go ahead, David. Finish.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's my favorite episode, but it still had some amazing things.
I'm loving all of the episodes. I think every episode is bringing something different. If I'm going to say what was the best episode, I'm torn between this week's and last week's. But they were both really great. But all of them have been really good. I do want to mention, of course, all of this commentary being had, and you and I are recording on the day that George Floyd's murderer, the cop that killed him, was found guilty on 3 verdicts, which was a historic and I think just an extraordinary moment of justice for the black community in America, where they're so rarely ever given that. So we wanted to acknowledge that and also say good that happened, because it should have happened. David, let's start talking about the episode as it happened in sequence. So where do we start off this week, David?
So it started off with John running away from the scene of the crime.
Yeah. He booked it, didn't he?
Yeah, for sure. And he was just, it seemed as he was conflicted on what he did. I don't know about conflicted.
I don't think he's I think he's just freaking out. When you say conflicted, I think it implies that the character felt like he may have made a mistake. I don't think he made a mistake. I don't think he feels he made a mistake when it came to executing that guy. I think what he regrets is doing it in public. Yeah. That's kind of what I felt anyway. And then he realizes that people are going to be after him now.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Right. But yeah, he's freaking out a bit, and then once he calms down, that's when we see Sam and Bucky coming in, and they were like, "Hey,
oh hi, by the way,
like it's gonna be fine. Let's just calm down. Let's just regroup here." And then they asked for the shield back, and at first John was kind of like, yeah, you're right. We should rethink real quick or something. But then as soon as they mentioned the shield, he's like, he just came for this, huh? Okay. And a big fight happens. And honestly, this was a great fucking fight right here. Again,
it is. Yeah.
I love how effective those wings are. Like I really had no idea how he could even go up against the super soldiers and everything.
Yeah.
But he really
it
had
kind of
his
makes
own.
you think, doesn't it? It kind of makes you think that, okay, well, how come it didn't feel like this big thing in the films?
Mhm.
I mean, the Falcon's wings. How come they didn't feel as like effective in battle as they do here? Is it because like in the films, Falcon never got like a one-on-one? He was mainly like fighting a bunch of people at the same time.
Yeah, he never really got one-on-one, and then some of the big things he was up against. Well, I mean, not the big things. I mean, when it was one-on-one, it was with a regular human being. So like there's some stakes to it, but it never really felt as if it was unbalanced, the power levels. And so plus he mostly fought in the air for support. You know, it was mostly Captain America doing all the heavy lifting,
right,
and everything. But like but in this fight though, like there was some teamwork between him and Bucky.
right.
But at one point, Bucky gets knocked out a bit, and that was when it was one-on-one with Sam and Captain America. And again, he was really effective. Those wings were really effective. You almost think that he could have won and everything, but I mean, I gotta admit, John Walker, like, he was pretty impressive fighter. I really like what he did with the shield and everything. Especially, especially this one move, like, he just kind of like did like a little twirl or something, but with the shield in one hand and everything, like to knock both of them out. Like, that was really awesome.
I mean, look, he's a great fighter. I think he was a great fighter beforehand, but that serum, I mean, it's definitely the steroid smoothie he wanted it to be. Like, and like the fighting style with the serum is much more unhinged, you know, like there's a lot less like control, and it's just like going for it. And he kind of is going for the kill shot in these cases, right? Like he's doesn't
for sure.
And there were several times in the fight where like he was trying to kill them in almost the exact same way as the person he just executed.
Yeah, he almost did that with Sam a couple of times. But no, you're right. He was trying to go for the kill shot many times, especially like how he knocked out Bucky. Like he just fucking threw that shield at him and like put him across the room and everything. But the big moment though was when John had like Sam pinned down and everything, and he just ripped the wings apart from his jet. That was holy shit.
I know. Yeah. I was like, damn. And then like he got the shield and he was going to kill him.
Yeah, he was going for the kill shot, but he gets saved by Bucky. And then that was when, again, it was a tag team, and Bucky had him pinned to the wall. Sam was trying to take the shield away from him, and this is like, holy shit. But he was using his jet to get the shield off of him. And in doing so, he broke John's arm. Yeah. And I was, oh my God. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I've seen some like gruesome fights lately with like the boys and Invincible. Like they get pretty gruesome and everything. But like this is the one that I was like most like freaking out about. Just mostly, I think mostly because it's a Disney show. I did
you
not
don't expect it. But it's also just effective how the imagery is presented. You have the imagery of the arm being forced to break. You have the sound of the arm breaking, and then you also have Wyatt Russell screaming in agony, which is so effective.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was insane. It could be because I'm watching these gruesome shows, but I almost wish the fight was a bit more gruesome. I don't know, but that's just me. But yeah, they got the shield off of him. Bucky and Sam knock him out. Again, tag team. I think Sam just like kicks him in the face or something. Yeah. And then Bucky, he picks up the shield and just like tosses it down next to Sam. And I love that part though, because Bucky's basically like, keep it. It's yours. Yeah. I love it. And then Sam, I got like this part too. Sam he's holding onto the shield and he's wiping away the blood. Like,
Yeah.
Like almost as if he feels bad for it.
Yeah.
Like he caused this in a way.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah. And so that sucks. But yeah.
It was an extraordinary action sequence through and through, and a great one to start off the episode. And I think you and I have been commending the work, the stunt work, the choreography work for these action sequences that they've been doing in these episodes week to week. And you know what? Like the level of action, and again, it may be because it's down to earth, it's on a ground level, and I guess it's forced to be much more like fist to fist, hand to hand combat. That, and I kind of prefer it in many aspects, but like it's just it's so well done to the level that it almost feels like it's the Russo style of fighting. That's how great the action feels. Like it definitely feels like a step above the normal action set pieces you see in a standard generic Marvel movie. It is so good. So on that level, and it's also just suspenseful as well. Like it was staged beautifully. They captured some really beautiful images there too. And the music is not getting enough credit here. Henry Jackman, and I've been saying this for years, Henry Jackman delivered some pretty great scores for Civil War and Winter Soldier, and everyone just kind of forgot about them. Well, this show is reminding them of Henry Jackman delivered, and I love the scores that he, like a lot of the motifs that he composed for those films are being brought back in interesting levels. I mean, in interesting ways. So for example, like when it gets to the climactic moments of this sequence, it's the same motif as when Bucky, Iron Man, and Cap and Steve were all fighting at the end of the film. Just like the dramatic, I mean, not to, I guess, not exactly the same like volume of it, but it's the same motif. Yeah. And again, the Winter Soldier theme, the Zemo theme that we'll hear again later on in the episode. The music's pretty fucking great. I love it.
Yeah, I definitely heard some together. Civil War music when after they broke. Wait, was that after they broke his arm? Yeah. After they broke his arm and everything, and he was about to attack again. John was about to attack again. That's when I heard it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. So, only those of us who would listen to the soundtracks would know. So, yeah. And go ahead. Yeah, just one last thing. What I love about this sequence though too is I didn't really expect it.
No,
I really thought John was gonna like kind of hold on to the shield to the very end, or like at least for the entire MCU run or something. I really didn't think they were gonna try to take it back.
I mean, he got canceled, so it's kind of he literally got canceled. Yeah. So what are you gonna do? And he's obviously unhinged. So it's just, it got to the point where like this person just can't. And they just straight up and took it. I guess what was the surprise? Like, Sam wasn't exactly hiding the fact that he had the shield, and there were no attempts by the U.S. government to reclaim it. And I guess on some level you have to think that maybe they knew, contrary to what we see later on in a scene, but Torres saw Sam having the shield and didn't see fit to report that. So it's a bit of a question, I guess, who that shield belongs to, but I guess the implication of what John Walker did at the end of last week's episode may have not just like ruined his chances for being Captain America, but based on what we see on later scenes, maybe the senators themselves, whose idea it was to bring back Captain America, felt, well, fuck, we can't even use that anymore. So I guess we're just going to not have Captain America, at least not sponsored by them. So it is interesting that you say that. But great opening to the episode.
For sure. Yeah. And the next scene, they're at some base, I think, and basically Torres comes in and tells them like what's their next move and everything. And he explains John Walker's in big trouble for what he did. Carly's just in the wind. They have no idea where she is, and chances are we're not going to find her until she wants to be found. And then he a cool thing, he's looking at the wings. He's wondering like what the fuck happened and everything.
Yeah, they got damaged pretty bad.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was just basically Torres explaining to us like what's happening now. What are the implications of this?
They've been moved off. It seems like they kind of been benched.
Till further notice, I guess.
The GRC is taking, I guess, jurisdiction now.
And is in that scene that they explained that they basically they raided all of like everywhere Carly's been at, any potential bases that she was getting into, and we'll get into it in a bit, but yeah. So Sam's just like, okay, fine, whatever, and leaves. He takes the shield but leaves behind the wings. And Torres is like, hey, you forgot this. And Sam goes, keep him. Which, I hope he does. Yeah. Like, I really hope. I mean, he's seen Sam fix up his suit a couple of, at least that's what it seems to me. That he's seen Sam fix up his suit a couple of times. So he probably knows, probably can figure out how to work it. So I don't know. I hope he comes out in the last episode with those wings, but I doubt it. It's probably like
it may be a bit too much.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit too much just to kind of like I mean, I know some time passes. It seems like some time passes during this episode, but it seems still too quick for me to like see him in a suit already. They're probably just gonna save him for what is it, Young Avengers?
I don't know if Young Avengers. I know that they are planning that, but just to catch people up on this. So the implications, and I think a lot of us saw it coming based on what the comics history of it is. But in the comic run where Sam Wilson is Captain America, he has his own Falcon sidekick, and that is Torres. So a lot of people were suspecting that Torres was going to be Falcon's new sidekick, I guess you could say. And it very much felt like in this sequence, it felt like I love that it didn't feel forced at all, that Sam was like, keep him. Like, he's like recognizing that's not me anymore. And he walks away with the shield. Like the first little sign of him, picking up the mantle that Steve bestowed upon him. And then Torres, who's just there, really excited about, and I think we all, the audience who knows the history knows what it means, is that he will take those wings and become the new Falcon. I think now this would require perhaps maybe retitling the name of the show if and when a season 2 does happen, but I would imagine that that's your team for a season 2 is Sam as the new Cap, and then an elevated role for Torres with the Falcon wings. I'm not so sure if Sebastian Stan is going to return for a season 2 so much as he might be returning for a different show. There have been some speculation that maybe he might show up in Thunderbolts. Versus, I guess, a season 2 of this show. Although, I guess he could also show back up in season 2. Maybe they could even do the Thunderbolts in this show. I don't know what they're really ultimately planning on doing, but I would expect Torres to have a much more elevated role with the wings. If not in the finale, which is kind of doubtful, and if not, then most likely in the second season. And of course, we should not forget that Bucky was in that scene. Then he kind of like peaced out.
Yeah. I honestly forgot about that. But the next scene, I think it's with Carly and her group. They went to the GRC refugee camp and see that basically the whole thing's been raided. Everyone's gone and everything, and she's just pissed off.
She's pretty fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And I mean, she has a pretty great line. I mean, I should be saying, like, Carly Morgenthau is a pretty great villain. Like, it's like, I think, and this may be one knock on WandaVision. I mean, not meaning to compare the two shows, but one of the things is all of the characters are much more thematically, they're all thematically tied into what this show is than WandaVision for sure. And I love Carly's, her story here. But I mean, even though she's like, I think at this point she is, I think Zemo has a point about what he's saying about Carly. I think she's kind of going off the deep end at this point, kind of like what Walker did. But she's still throwing out lines like, how many of us have to die just to be citizens of this planet? Which was, I think, pretty resonant. The larger implications of what that means. That was a great line. But she is fucking pissed. She lost one of her friends, Nico, just was fucking executed by Captain America. And then all of her people, her followers, who are really just normal people, they're not necessarily involved in the movement as much as her own forces are, have been arrested and cleared out of here. And it really is kind of this really just sad scene for somebody like Carly, and as we see, it kind of takes her down to the part. It takes her down the road of like, well, you know what, you asked for it, I'm out for blood now, and that seems like what she is deciding to do.
Yeah, for sure. And then what's next? And then next is Zemo and Bucky.
Ooh, this was a great scene.
Oh yeah, so Zemo is in the Sokovia
the memorial.
Yeah, he's right. I think it was pretty cool. It was a statue of a family, basically.
Could you tell that it was all CG?
Yeah.
Okay, just yeah, this is what I mean. Sometimes we're like, maybe you could have built a statue or something, but
yeah,
I mean, it didn't look terrible. But
no, the statue didn't look terrible and everything, but like you can tell that there was a green screen right there and everything that they had to make up a torn down city, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's there, and then Bucky comes up behind him, and Zemo's trying to tell him like, "Hey, she's turned, man. Like, there's no stopping her at this point." Like, and he almost like he's pointing to Bucky like, "You were made to be a weapon, and you gotta rely on that to stop Carly." But Bucky's like, "Nah, we're gonna handle it differently than you, and we're gonna handle it our own way." And then he points a gun at him, thinking, and I knew he wasn't gonna. It was in the trailer. We knew that he wasn't really gonna shoot him and everything. But I liked Zemo's reaction to it, of that he's accepting what's about to happen. Like he's almost ready for it. And when Bucky shoots and doesn't go off, it's crazy to see Zemo get sad and everything. Like it's insane, just kind of like how he accepts death in any way or something. But but that happened, and then from behind, the Dora Milaje come in and arrest him. And I like the last line of his. It's just I took the liberty of crossing my name off your list. Like, I don't what did he say? Like,
I don't have any I don't have any feelings against you or something.
Yeah.
I guess what he was going for is, I don't hold it against you for feeling what you had to do. And I think he was referring to, I think at some point Bucky may have had it in his mind that he wanted to kill Zemo. Maybe before the show even started, because we did talk about weeks ago that it was on his list. His name was on his list. And I guess what Zemo was saying there, it's like, I don't hold it against you for feeling what you had to do in killing me, basically. Like, no personal feelings.
Yeah. Basically.
And remember, but before that even happened, he did say hilariously to Bucky, I've decided not to kill you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. And then what did Io say to him? It was basically like
Io, what he said to Bucky?
Yeah.
It would be prudent. It would be prudent to make yourself scarce in Wakanda for the time being, White Wolf.
Yeah,
suggesting that there are some people who are like, a little PO'd at him right now.
For sure. And I thought that was cool. But I mean, basically, them two, they're cool again, which is nice. And as she starts leaving, Bucky asks her for another favor. And which I had no idea what it was going to be. But
me neither. I mean, I guess in retrospect, I should have expected it, but I wasn't really sure what he was talking about in the moment.
Same, but I once we get to it, I'm glad he did what he did.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, did you give your thoughts on basically what's happened in those scenes?
Oh no, not yet. Okay. So you just recapped it. Now let's break this down. This is one of my favorite scenes in the show. It was staged so beautifully. Look, it really just cemented how much I've enjoyed. I really like Zemo's character. And this is coming from somebody who actually enjoyed him in Captain America Civil War. I think you did too. It's hilarious to me how when Civil War came out all those years ago, which, first off, it's crazy that I have to refer as 2016 as a few years ago now. Father Time is not kind. But remember, people, the main thing that people were like trying to use as something to bring down Civil War's, I don't know, success down a peg was this idea that Zemo was completely unnecessary in the movie. Remember that? Like that spread like wildfire. It was on his trailer. Some people were even comparing Zemo's irrelevance to the plot of Civil War to Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor in BVS, which I thought was just disgusting to compare the two because Lex Luthor made no fucking sense in BVS. Let's just be real about that. Well, Zemo had an actual story behind it. And I don't know what it was about it that people just didn't care for Zemo as a villain. But I thought at the time anyway, and still, he is, before even this show came out, I thought that Zemo was still one of the better villains that the Marvel Cinematic Universe had produced. So I say that now having, seen these episodes and then seeing him in this scene, there's just this level of respect, I guess, for Zemo, because even though he is a bad guy, he has this code to him and he sticks pretty closely to it. And he's pretty honest. He actually considered killing Bucky, but he says, like, you know what? You're okay. I'm not going to kill you. I mean, but he said it so, like, seriously. He's not really that smug personality. He just comes across as, I don't know, I guess, just like a guy in the most part. And him standing in front of that memorial, I think, kind of brings it back to that level that, this is still a person whose family was killed because of what the Avengers kind of did. And when you say that there was this look of maybe he was hoping for Bucky to kill him, I mean, we have to remember, of course, that this was somebody who was about to commit suicide until T'Challa stopped him. When he said that the living are not finished with you yet. And that kind of is, I guess, really the punishment that, Zemo has to live with what he did is to live out the rest of his days, And I mean, I thought it was a great sequence between both of the actors. I love that score and I love how, it was building up. And then when it came to Bucky, you see, I really didn't know what he was going to do. I didn't know. Like, I was actually afraid, you're not going to kill him, are you? I mean, like, because, like, Daniel Bruhl is great as this character. I don't want this to stop. There's so much fun watching him. But then, like, I'm really glad it didn't happen that way, and it made the scene even better because, what it did for the character. Because, like, in that sequence, Zemo is saying basically what he thinks of Bucky. It's like, look, you were made for killing. If anybody can do this, it's you. And Zemo had assumed, based on his own thoughts, that Bucky was about to do that to Zemo. And he had kind of, he had a little bit of a nod of acknowledgement to go ahead and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was genuinely surprised that Bucky didn't kill him. And it was a great moment for Bucky because another indication that he is beginning to turn the page from this alias in this 50 years of murdering as the Winter Soldier. I loved this scene. It was beautiful. It was something special. I didn't care if it took place in front of a blue screen. The acting in and of itself was outstanding. And I love how the Dora Milaje just so subtly come up behind him. And he's like, "Ladies," and then he just politely walks over to the Quinjet or something
because he knows.
Yeah, he was like, he's not even gonna fight it. One thing you didn't mention, I think, I'm not even sure, is that Io said that they're gonna take him to the raft.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. I did forget about it, but I remembered it.
Mm-hmm. Peter actually brought this up in our conversation off air, that it made no sense for the Dora Milaje to take him to the raft.
Yeah,
because usually when the Wakandans, like as we saw in Black Panther, when they're going after somebody like Claw, they're after him, but they have their own prison. They've got their own cells, like from what we understand. So like it's not as if there's no room in Wakanda for one more jailbird, but it felt like for the Wakandans to go to the raft, something just felt that wasn't the natural progression point that you'd think it would go. And it felt very much like, okay, this is the beginning of the setup for the Thunderbolts, because who is in control of the raft? General Thunderbolt Ross, played by William Hurt. We saw the raft in Captain America Civil War. Zemo is one of the leading members of the Thunderbolts. And if you're not aware, Thunderbolts are basically Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad, among other villains that are there as well. So, and also remember, I do believe that, I forget, Tim Roth, who played the Abomination in the Incredible Hulk movie, I do believe he was confirmed to return in She-Hulk, right?
I don't know about confirmed, but like I did hear that he could be in it.
Okay. So there are other characters who we may have seen in the past that may come back here. And if that's the case, I'm all for it. If it means more Zemo, I love it. So, but in that case, it's like Dora Milaje are gonna get kind of getting bamboozled. They're like, if you want this person to be imprisoned, I'm not sure if the raft is the best place to do that. I think you're better off keeping him in Wakanda. But okay, I don't know what happened there.
I thought I found it weird too. As soon as they mentioned the raft, I'm like, the fuck? Take him to Wakanda.
I know.
It's so weird. But I mean, I think the easy fix is that now that they're open to the world, there's a few things they have to follow. And
that's true. General Zemo. Ross may have like beeped them like, just bring him here. He'll be safe here.
Yeah. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Maybe because I mean, I think they could have figured something out a long time ago to like get him to Wakanda so he can be imprisoned there. But I don't know. I'm sure there's an easy fix to it. But yeah, I did find it weird. So the next scene, I think I might have skipped it, or maybe it was the next scene.
Did we skip John Walker's sequences? I'm not even sure anymore.
I can't remember the exact sequence of events.
Yeah,
but I know
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, John Walker basically, he's basically been demoted, or no, what's the word? Like
he's been canceled.
Yeah,
he's getting fired. They said you will be given an other than honorable discharge you will receive. They're not even paying him. Like this is as much as like you're fucking fired. It's basically what happened there in that sequence.
Yeah, basically, and he's trying to explain himself. Trying to reason with them that, like,
in a very calm manner, I might add.
Very calm. Yeah, but he's trying to reason with them, trying to convince them, like, no, I'm Captain America, goddammit. But but they decided, like, you're done. You're no longer Captain America. Not not in terms of the U.S. government. They want the shield back. One thing that I liked about this scene, though, is that I'm glad that I was wrong. If you remember last week, I said that there was not going to be any repercussions from what he did. No, I'm glad that I was wrong. That he got fired. They didn't want him to be Captain America anymore. And I like what they showed with John Walker in that he was saying, like, I did everything that you guys told me to do. Mm-hmm. I did exactly what you would have told any other soldier to do.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't understand why you're doing this to me. And then that last line of, like, you made me. Like,
yeah.
It's just, he really does feel betrayed by the U.S. government. And so, I mean, a part of me did kind of feel bad for him, but at the same time, though, I'm glad you're not Captain America. Sorry.
As much as I hate to admit it, you're right. There is a little bit of sympathy involved there because, what Walker is saying there is the truth. He's a tool. Mm-hmm. He's a tool on the, and a product of the military-industrial complex. And I thought that was a very effective scene. And I really hope, and considering the reaction to some people's reactions out there, maybe it kind of went over their heads, but like there was a pretty sharp critique of the American government and the American military-industrial complex there, because in that moment when Walker was kind of going ape shit, and he said to them, "I am Captain America. You made me." That was the first time where he called himself Captain America in the way and how he was framing it, and it was kind of true. That was the truest it ever came to be, because he, as an American soldier, is a product of what they made him to be. And my sympathies are extended to him in this context because he's the only one that is basically facing consequences for what happened. But isn't it just rich that the people who hired him, including that smug senator who was directly in front of him and responsible for putting John Walker in this position in the first place, gets to walk away scot-free and no consequences whatsoever. They're throwing Walker under the bus, but none of the people who hired him in the first place. And they did that by being manipulative bitches, by coercing Wilson to hand over the shield. They have no consequences whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And later on, as someone else explains it to Walker, they don't care that he killed him. Mm-hmm. They only care and are mad is that he was dumb enough to be caught on camera doing it. And that's very true.
Yeah.
To what we experience in real life from these particular institutions. And it's also very critical, I feel, also, like, Walker... Somebody made a good point in that the show did a good job of, setting up Walker's story arc by not making him a white supremacist, because that would have been too easy. Because this guy isn't, we established this when we first saw him, is that, based on his record, this is a good person, or at least he's trying to be a good person, like a war hero of sorts. And I really felt bad for his wife. I felt bad for her having to sit through all that. Like, holy crap. And then obviously for Lamar, which nobody seemed to fucking care that he died after the fact, except his family. So there is that to consider. But this is somebody who has these really horrible impulses. And you can't help but wonder if those impulses, as he says to them, were put there by you. This is how you taught me to act. Mm-hmm. You are responsible for this as much as I am. Why am I the only one falling on the sword here? When it's people like you who have been doing this again and again and again. And they get to walk away scot-free. And of course, they don't care that they killed him. As, Valentina says in a couple of scenes. It didn't matter. They probably did them a favor by killing him. They don't care. Because they're terrorists, right? Technically, from the military-industrial complexes, they're dead. Mm-hmm. They don't matter as human beings. Just kill them. They're just upset that they caused that, because he was captured on camera, it caused a shitstorm, a public relations nightmare for them. So they had no choice but to cancel, quote unquote, John Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, of course, I thought it was a great sequence. And there was, in that context that I just laid out there is a little bit of sympathy because he is getting completely screwed over. And yes, he killed this person, but it ain't exactly like he's the only one to blame.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the only one getting any real consequences because of it. But then somebody shows up.
Yes.
Who shows up, David?
Yeah, so he's John. Later on, he's talking to his wife, and his wife's trying to go talk to him, tell him like what next steps he should take. But in the middle of it, a woman walks in, and Valentina Allegra Fontaine, whatever, I can't remember her whole name.
I think it was Contessa Valentina. I think that was the main name, or Val.
Val.
Just call her Val.
Yeah. Don't say Val, just say it in your head.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, she walks in and it's basically what you said. Hey, the government doesn't really care that you killed that guy. I'm sure they would have loved it if you killed everyone in the group and everything. But basically, she's in a way trying to cheer him up, and you can tell that she's trying to recruit him for something. We don't know what. But I think it's easy to guess that he's going to become U.S. agent and he's going to be recruited for something. But in this scene, though, I was kind of confused.
You weren't the only one.
Yeah, but like, because she just walks in and like just almost takes over the show or something.
Yeah.
Like, walks in with all this giant confidence and knows that like she's trying to take over the whole entire situation or something.
You're immediately thrown off a little bit because like you're thrown off and you're kind of taken out of it because like, wait, her, they got this actor to be here because you could Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So like, it took me like a little bit out of it because like, this actor is here now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great, but I was also kind of confused. Like, is this like her debut or whatever? I know that evidently she's supposed to be in Black Widow, and we were supposed to see her in Black Widow. And by this point, we would have known who that was. So there is that to consider. But yeah, it was. I was a little thrown off at first, but the more she kept talking, the more I understood, or at least suspected, that she was going to recruit John Walker for something that she was planning. So okay, let's stop here. What I assumed this was just more building to Thunderbolts, and it very well may be. However, there have been some pretty credible outlets out there that are saying or suspecting that they're hearing from sources inside Marvel that what Valentina or Val is doing is not related to what Ross is doing with the Thunderbolts, that she is basically doing Dark Avengers. We know that they're doing Young Avengers. I guess they're doing Dark Avengers. But it also kind of, I guess where I'm most confused is, what is Val representing? Is it to be like, is she representing the government, or is she representing a different agency? Because apparently she's Madam Hydra in the comic books. She's not Ophelia, or maybe a different one. She's one of the Madam Hydras in the comics. And okay, but and who knows if they're gonna do her as Madam Hydra? But if they do, does that suggest Hydra is back? And is Hydra doing Dark Avengers? It's like, it brings a lot of questions that we have no way of answering at this point. We can just speculate, usually, with this case. But people were thinking, Madam Hydra, they're going to do Madam Hydra. But Hydra's gone, unless they're going to bring Hydra back, which, do we really want to see that again.
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna do Madam Hydra with her, and I think it is gonna be more of the Thunderbolts type of thing because General Ross,
I guess it can be easily assumed that Ross and Val are working together to set up the Thunderbolts.
And again, like if the Thunderbolts are like Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad, the thing with that is that you can't have General Ross directly connected to this team, because if they're anything like the Suicide Squad, they're doing missions that are like completely off the books. No one is supposed to know about this team.
Well, Val could be that person, I guess.
Yeah, and so Val is the one like that could be running the missions, and again, not directly related to the government or anything.
She's basically Amanda Waller in this case.
Yeah, basically.
And then you could also say that Walker is Rick Flag.
Yeah, exactly.
It's to what Peter said. It's amazing how Marvel and DC just copied each other. In the comics,
for sure. I think Darkseid was first as a big main villain. Yeah. Justice League was first and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sucks that Marvel's doing a better job at building up to these things. But
DC isn't really building anything. Yeah, I mean, they never have. They tried, and then they consistently failed at building toward anything, and now they're just doing one-offs. Mm-hmm. And they're sticking to that. So,
yeah. But yeah, that was that scene. Now the next one. We're back in Brooklyn, Maryland.
Or back in Maryland. We're back in Maryland, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that what I said?
I think you said Brooklyn.
Isn't that in Brooklyn?
You mean Brooklyn, New York?
I could have sworn I said Brooklyn. I don't know.
Maybe there's a town. I thought that was Baltimore.
Baltimore, Maryland. Yes. I don't know my.
Okay.
I
have a friend that lives in Baltimore. I've been there.
I feel dumb now.
That's all right. Yeah. That's geography.
Brooklyn. Oh my god. Yeah, we're back there.
We saw Brooklyn earlier in the show. Bucky lives in Brooklyn, so we saw it earlier in the show. Brooklyn, New York.
Okay. I'm stupid. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Sam goes to visit Isaiah, and basically, I mean, you could tell right away, at least for me, I could tell right away that he really wanted to talk to him, trying to get some perspective of whether or not. Right.
There were some things he needed to be. There were some things he wanted cleared up, basically.
Yeah, he wanted to be cleared up, but also I think he wanted a really second opinion whether or not he should take the mantle or not. But he goes in, and right away Isaiah is like, just not in. He can already tell he's not gonna be into this conversation. But he decides to tell him his story, and he shows him a few pictures. He had a wife, but she died while he was in prison. They did have a son, right? For sure.
They have a grandson, so I have to assume.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It's just sometimes people like, they're not directly related to someone, but they'll still call him like their uncle or their grandpa, whatever. But yeah, and then he didn't know about his son or his kid till afterwards, and he told him about his time in prison, just being experimented on over and over, taking his blood, and he only escaped because some nurse took pity on him and faked his death. Mm-hmm. He was able to get out and just remain silent for the rest of his life.
And in hiding, as it turns out.
Mm-hmm. And the reason he was in prison is because, he was first given the super soldier serum. They were told that, what was it? Some type of vaccine or
tetanus,
yeah. That's what they were told, but no, it was a super soldier serum, and his teammates they weren't doing so well from it. And at one point they got caught by some enemy and they were just gonna leave them behind. But Isaiah was like, nah, that's my team. I gotta go rescue them. And he does. He saves him. And he says, really no point though, because it's like at some point he just loses them all because of the serum. But because of his, I don't know, I guess, because he didn't take orders or something like that, he was in prison. And I didn't think about it at first, but people pointed out later on that he did the exact same thing as Steve did in the Captain America movie. Yeah, in First Avenger, when he broke out the Howling Commandos and some of his other forces, the Allied forces, he broke them out of prison, and he was hailed as a hero. And then Bradley did the same thing, trying to keep his fellow brothers in arms from being blown away by their own country, and yet he's imprisoned. And yeah, I mean, that's basically his whole story. And Sam tries to tell him, people should know about this. Like, you need to come out and speak up about this and everything. But he's like, nah, let me be dead. And if I come out, who's to say that someone's just gonna try to kill me the next? Like, they'll want me to stay silent. They don't want this story to come out at all. And I mean, Sam, or what's the actor's name? Guy playing Sam? Mackie. Anthony Mackie. He's just doing a great job in this. Like, he is so conflicted about this story. He's reacting, but I mean, great reaction. For sure. And it's just like, you know, he wants to help out, but then he knows, like, it's just gonna get him in trouble. And then he knows that this is just like a dark side of his country, basically. Yeah. And at some point, Isaiah, he just straight up tells him, like, don't take up that shield. They don't. No one is ever going to accept you as Captain America. No one's going to accept a black man as Captain America, and no self-respecting black man who ever want to take up that mantle. Yeah, powerful stuff. I mean, look, it was oh boy, phenomenal scene. Powerful stuff. Carl Lumley, who plays Isaiah Bradley, perfection. And that scene was just so beautifully unfolding. It is devastating, to say the least, the things that are revealed. And I think also just they speak to the truth of what America has been, especially how it's treated its black citizens. You know, the implication here that so he and his fellow soldiers were told that they were being given tetanus vaccines or something. That was a lie, that they were being experimented on. Interesting that they were the ones being experimented on, and I think it was a reference to actual history. The Tuskegee incident, when please by all means look a lot of these things up, because they did in fact happen, where they gave black Americans something that they thought was going to cure a particular disease, and then they were just testing on them because they didn't want to risk killing any white people. That's something the government did in this country. So I think that it was a little bit of a reference to that in real world times. But then the idea that they didn't want any evidence to get out, and that they were going to easily just execute their own troops. And I am to assume that most of them were black, if not all of them were black, based on how Bradley is talking about them. And of course, he's imprisoned for trying to save their lives, which is what Steve would do. And then, all because the government could not risk, because I think it was assumed that with Bradley, he was the only one where the serum actually took, where it worked. Mm-hmm.
They could not let word get out that a black man could be a super soldier. The idea that a black man, if that story got out, the influence and the impact that would have on black communities, not just in America, but across the world, would be a threat to white supremacy. It would be a threat to white power, basically, which is what the power base is. And at a time where, if this is the 50s, right? 50s, 60s, well, what do you, that's the height of the civil rights movement. MLK, Malcolm X, all of that was happening at that time. Do you think the government's going to let that story get out there that a black man could be Captain America? It would destroy their entire case.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was pretty powerful as well.
Yeah.
And then Bradley says, they erased my history, my whole story, because of what had happened. But I was used to it because they've been erasing my people's history for 400 years. They've been lying about us, for them to formulate their own twisted point of view, to keep us enslaved, to keep us down and keep them in power. They will never let a black man be Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said those words, man, that was just chills down your spine. Because that's exactly, in that line of dialogue, it just perfectly captured how this country treats black Americans. And I think they also branded him. He lifts up his shirt and he shows
from all the
what they did. Yeah. It was a tough scene. And it definitely shook Sam, where he was just indecisive about what he wanted to do. But he gets one pretty big knock against wanting to even take up that mantle. It was a great scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The next thing is he's back home with his sister and his nephews, and they're just trying to fix up the boat. And I remember. He found out that the sister can't sail the boat. The person that they had bailed out, so there's not really much they can do. But Sam figures out a way to fix it up, and he knows his parents. They've helped out the community for so long that he thought, what, these people, they kind of owe us a favor. So it's just this sequence of basically some shots of the ocean and everything, and just him voicing over, calling everyone he knows, asking for favors, see if he can get some, some tools or certain parts to fix up the boat.
He was rounding up people from his town to come out and help out to rehabilitate that boat that would not turn on, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And by the way, beautiful images. I wonder. I hope it's in Louisiana. It may be Georgia, but man, those shots of the pier or the ocean, great shots.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I just remember something. I want to go back to the Isaiah thing real quick.
Sure.
I was listening to Kevin Smith's YouTube channel, and Kevin's co-host Mark Burdard. He was talking about this episode, and he said this crazy story about basically how he understood why Isaiah said what he said, because Mark was told a similar thing by his dad or grandpa or something.
Oh, wow.
So he never really considered really joining the army, Mark, and anything. But right. He's seeing it on TV. He kind of thought, it was in his mind. But again, I can't remember if it was his dad or his grandpa, but they said, don't join the army. They took so many things from us don't give him everything. You don't give this country everything you have when they took everything from us, basically. And I thought, holy shit. So it's just, I know some people are gonna go, oh, this is exaggerated. This is whatever.
We'll have that discussion at the end of the episode.
Politics
we'll
and
get
everything.
there.
But no, this is something people have been told. This is something that does happen.
And because it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's exactly the truth.
Mm-hmm.
No community has been more marginalized or devastated by the Black community in this country. And it's not just in the 200 and some years that the country has existed, but the 400 years, in the modern era, since slavery started, that, erasing history, cherry picking certain items. It's never really ended. That's why we still, today, with Black Lives Matter, things still aren't anywhere near being equal. And when you think about being a Black man in particular in this country, there are a lot of shitty things that the government has done against your community and still continues to do against your community. Florida, just the other day, signed into law. I'm going to repeat, signed into law that makes it easier for you as any individual, to run over peaceful protesters. 2021. And 5 other states are considering doing the same thing, if not more extreme than that. So you tell me if this shit has gotten any easier, or if there's been any progress in that department. It's angry. It makes me angry. Anyway, that was a powerful story. I may even listen to that podcast when we get there.
Oh, for sure. No. Oh, there's 2 episodes you should definitely listen to.
Sure. Okay.
I'll tell you later.
You let me know which ones. But let's get back to this scene with Sarah. Look, I think mostly it's just Sarah and Sam. And I'm glad that we got to connect back with Sarah and the kids, because we had been away from them for a while. But it's nice to see, see her get some time with Sam. And then Sam calling the favors. The people show up. They fix up the boat, and then Bucky comes back out of nowhere. And he's helping out with the fixes as well. We get a montage sequence that was pretty hilarious. Look, part of the reason why I think Mackie and Stan have so much chemistry is just maybe it's all in the facial expressions. There's this moment where Bucky uses his metal arm to rip a piece of the boat off that Sam was having a hard time doing himself, and then as Bucky's walking away with it, he just gives him this really angry stare, you asshole, you had to do that. But then earlier on, before that montage even happens, I'm not even sure if it's a montage, but anyway, there's this part of the boat that is leaking air, and then he's trying to close it, and then Bucky comes in and does it. But then he says what we're all thinking. Sam says what we're all thinking. You couldn't have just done that with your metal arm. And then Bucky's like, you don't think about it off the top because I'm right-handed. So, which is, okay, that's pretty hilarious.
That's so funny though. It's
yeah. Yeah, it is pretty funny too. Mm-hmm. And then to me, what was the funniest stuff that we got to see here is Bucky flirting with Sarah, or Sarah flirting with Bucky, and Sam immediately being like, what the fuck is going on? Stay away. Stop doing this. Don't talk. But yeah, great stuff. It's just I guess it's a little bit of a novelty that doesn't seem to wear off, because we don't see it all that often. To see Avengers just do ordinary everyday work. They're fixing up a boat. Yeah.
It's
fun.
I really love this episode. I really like this episode because of this whole entire sequence, because they're finally kind of building a friendship and all that.
Yeah,
not out of of combat, but just
not out of circumstance too, because they really weren't really friends or partners. They were around each other because they had the same friend. They were basically a friend of a friend.
Yeah. Also, before I guess the montage of them fixing it up, there was a part where Bucky gives Sam a case and tells him like, "Oh, this I called in a favor from Wakanda," and I am mad that we didn't get to see the suit. I get why, but I really want to see the suit, and like I really hope it's as good as Wanda's in WandaVision. Like I really want to be like blown away again with it, but I mean we'll see. But yeah, we get this whole sequence was really good because you kind of, even you see the boat very brief in the first episode, but like as the sequence goes on, you yourself are almost getting a connection with it. Like you want to, you want it to work. You want it to like really help Sam and his family and all that. So it's a really good sequence.
And that's and that scene that exchange that Sam has with Sarah, about preserving their history, that this boat is our history, coming off the heels of the story that Bradley had told to Sam about how his history was completely erased, and how it became much more important. And I love that line that Sam says, like, what would be the point of all this pain and sacrifice if I didn't at least get back up and fight, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful line. And just a lot of this is just another reminder of why Sam is the perfect person to take up the mantle. And then after we get off that, we have a really good scene between Bucky and Sam. They're kind of throwing the shield around.
Mm-hmm.
And we see, just a beautiful exchange, and I think this is kind of the moment where they kind of do become friends, even if they don't want to admit it. But, it starts off with Bucky apologizing to Sam for like, what, I may have overreacted with blaming you for what happened with the shield. But, when Steve told me what he was planning on doing, neither one of us, and again, how could we? We're a couple of white guys from the 40s, literally. We never took into consideration what it would be like for a black man to take on them, to have that shield, and knowing what it represents. And it's also what Sam says, that the legacy of that shield is complicated, and it's kind of a little bit of a reversal from what he said in episode 1, where he kind of had the highest of compliments to say about the shield when he was handing it over to the exhibit. And now, knowing all the things that he knows now, it is a much more complicated history. And for people to because there are people who don't seem to get the subtext when they're saying about the legacy of this shield is complicated. What they're really saying is the legacy of this country is complicated, people. That's what they're saying about the shield. And then also all of the forces that we're trying to get to the shield, all of the tragedies, all the people, as Sam says, that were steamrolled just to fight for what that represents. But Bucky also, getting more personal here, saying like, look, that's everything. That's all I have left. Steve is gone. Everybody I know is gone. That's the closest thing to family I have left. And when it just hurt me when you gave it away like that. To which Sam, and this is where his strengths really lie in as a counselor here. Like, look, Steve is gone. And it doesn't matter what he thinks anymore because he's gone. You need to stop looking at other people to tell you who you are. And you need to figure that out for yourself. And you're going about it the wrong ways too. If you want to feel better about things you did, it's not about making you feel better. You got to make the people who you wronged feel better. And it teed up something that we might get next episode. That's going to be brutal to see. With the father that whose son he killed.
Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about that part.
Sure.
So, we've been seeing a lot of how Bucky should have taken up the mantle of Captain America, and yeah, some people were saying because he has a super soldier serum, he has a metal arm, like he has the strength to be capable of really using it well. And some others were saying that, the story was clearly going to Bucky, that he was going to take up the shield. Like the movies were leading up to him taking up the mantle and all that. And then the main thing is people are going is that's a great story to tell, that he takes up the mantle so he can become a better person with it and all that, blah blah blah. And I agree that could be a really great story. You know, he takes up the shield, tries to become a better man, almost tries not so much like forget about what he did, but you know, make amends of what he did by becoming a Captain America. And again, as great an idea that is, I never liked the idea though that he's trying to become better for Steve, for the shield, for the title. Like I never liked that. And I like what this show is doing is that he has to learn to become better for himself. And I love what Sam said is like, dude, Steve, forget about what Steve said, you know? He's gone now, and it's up to you to make things better for yourself, basically. And so, this is why I love that. This scene right here, I do love it. Yeah. Because it's said what I've been thinking for like the longest time. Again, I don't mind. I wouldn't have minded if Bucky took up the shield and everything, but it's just from the very beginning, I knew right away, like, there's too much baggage with him. Like, he has to make amends for what happened to him. He has to be his mind has to be at peace if he did want to take up the mantle, and maybe he still can in the future. I don't know, somehow. But yeah, and then again, what Sam was saying is that the names on your list, you're not trying to make amends. You're avenging. That's what you're doing. Okay, you're trying to stop all these bad people that you've helped out and everything, trying to bring justice to them and all that. And that's not really what you're supposed to do, which is what he would have done if he became Captain America. You know, that's all he would be doing. It's just avenging what he did wrong. And then when he brought up like, oh, there's got to be someone there on your list too, like you can bring closure to, I went, oh no, please. It's gonna be so rough.
Yeah, that's not gonna be fun to watch.
And if it's in it, honestly, but then at the same time though, I'm kind of excited just because if it's gonna be anything like that scene where he realized those passwords to his mind no longer affect him, like, you know, for sure we're all gonna lose it.
Yeah. And then Bucky kind of knows what he has to do. And then he parts ways, and then he tells Sam, call me when you get a lead on Carly. And then that leaves
Bucky said that.
Bucky said that, yeah. Bucky said to call me when you get a lead, and then he walks away to go deal with his shit, basically. And then we get a montage, an actual montage here with Sam training with the shield. And I thought it was cool, you know, like, because when they were passing around the shield, it kind of felt like, oh, Sam knows how to do this already, and we're not going to like, but then we actually see a sequence where he's like failing kind of miserably at first to really work with the shield, and him figuring out how to, you know, do combat with it. I thought was really fun. And then you have the score, the main theme for the show, Falcon and Winter Soldier, that Henry Jackman composed, just blaring over it. Very, very well done. I have pretty nothing to say other than it was great.
It wasn't the Rocky theme? I thought
No, it was. It was not. No.
That's just what I was thinking the whole time. Just like,
oh my God. Yeah. Although I wouldn't be surprised if somebody put that on YouTube. It's like, that scene, but with the Rocky music over it.
I know. I really hope someone does. Just like, it'd be fun.
Yeah. And then what happens afterward, David? Carly, the Flag Smashers, and
we skipped a scene.
We did? Oh, okay.
Yeah. John Walker is talking to the family of Battlestar.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and so he basically tells them like, "Oh, I stopped the guy who killed your son and everything." And I mean, to give the family closure, that's fine, but really, like, what it really, really is him trying to justify what he did to himself. Really, like, no, I stopped the guy who killed my best friend. Like, I'm a hero.
You're so right, man. You're so right. It was a good thing to give the family closure for losing their son. But really, it wasn't about that. It came from a much more egotistical perspective, I felt. Him like, well, yeah, I did it because I had to. That's how he justifies it.
And also, there's one thing I was like really noticing in this episode is that it's almost showing you a way of how like Bucky is worthy of the shield too. Like I know I just went off something like, no, he shouldn't be Captain America, but like you see kind of like the progress of him becoming better in this episode. So like the first thing is he doesn't kill Zemo. He follows rule number 2. Nobody gets hurt. You know, he crossed him off the list and everything. And then you get that montage of them fixing up the boat. You know, he's fine. He's hanging out with Sam. That's one thing his therapist was telling him. It's like, you haven't even called him once, like, you know. And then this one part, it was like in the middle of the montage, but like he slept in Sam's place for the night and everything, and then he sees his Sam's nephews playing with the shield and everything, but like he's smiling for a bit. It's almost like he had a restful sleep. He didn't have a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the part with Sam and Bucky tossing around the shield and everything, he tells him everything. It's like, I keep having those nightmares. I always have them, and how he can try to be better. And then, even though we haven't seen it yet, but Sam tells him, like, you need to give someone closure. And this is the one thing that he was struggling with in the first episode, is that he's having trouble telling someone that, hey, I killed your son. Like, give someone actual closure, a truth. And so with that scene with John Walker and Battlestar's family, it shows you again why he's not worthy of the shield. Like, he, as much as he's giving people,
although to be fair, that's not all too different what Steve did once. Maybe the worst thing that Steve ever did was to keep the truth from Tony when he realized that Bucky had killed Howard and his mom. And remember, like, I mean, dude, it just popped into my head, but there are some similarities too, like where Steve justified that by, although I think with Steve, it came from a right place. Like, at least he felt like he was trying to keep, the original intent was to not hurt Tony, but he admitted that he just didn't want to hurt himself.
But then also, though, you don't really know what could have happened. I mean, maybe later on, he probably could have told Bucky, hey, you gotta tell Tony the truth here. Like, in a way, though, it wasn't actually like his place, Steve's place, to tell Tony what Bucky did, in a way. So of course, there's some way to justify it. With John Walker, though, like, no, you should have told him the truth from the beginning. And
there was some, we talk about Grace Randolph, and she says some things, but there was something that she said this last week that I needed to talk about, because she was trying to say that, like, in that thing in Civil War, where that battle royale where Tony was trying to get to Bucky and Steve and everything, that she was kind of framing it that Tony was in the right, that Tony was just trying to, like, to bring justice for, his fallen parents. Tony was trying to murder Bucky. He was trying to murder Bucky, number one, but he was also trying to murder, not just for his parents, but he was also trying to murder Bucky to hurt Steve. I don't know how you can misread how Steve was in the wrong in that sequence. I have a hard time buying that myself, but I wanted to throw that out there. There may be some people who feel that Tony was in the right doing that. He was trying to kill somebody just to hurt Steve at that point. Justified or not. There is that. One other aspect that I just remembered is Sam got one perspective from Isaiah Bradley, who is kind of the embodiment of the dispirited black man in the country because of what America did to them. But then he also saw the hopeful, the more aspirational side of it from his nephews. How they reacted to the shield, how excited they were, how they were playing with it. And then at the end of that montage, and they were like touching the shield, like, that's who he can be for them. And it's about the next generation. It's about inspiring them and to make sure that they realize that they can achieve what he is about to. And that in turn is kind of what this show is doing, right? You know, to young black kids all across this country by having a black Captain America and kind of fulfilling the power behind that instance in Avengers Endgame. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in that theater with a pretty sizable black audience in one of the screenings for Avengers Endgame, and hearing several of them just like say, no way. Mm-hmm. In a good way, like in disbelief, like, wow, like Sam Wilson, a black man to be Captain America, like they're really doing that. Mm-hmm. So again, it just reminds you of the importance for people to see themselves portrayed in this light. And that's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. And it also works on a character level because it's reminding Sam, this is why he needs to do this. And not just like listen to, while understandable, the very pessimistic perspective of Isaiah Bradley. Mm-hmm. So.
Also, one thing it's one thing I kind of noticed about that scene where his nephews were playing with the shield and everything, with Torres. Is that his name?
Torres.
Oh my god, I'm horrible with names, guys. I'm so sorry.
Sarah,
the guy becoming the next Falcon.
That is Torres. Yeah.
Oh, okay. One thing I kind of noticed though is that he didn't really like think about the shield. Because like it was a shield and the wings right next to each other in that scene.
Yeah.
And like
I thought that odd too.
I didn't think it was odd or anything. I really liked the fact that he didn't really think twice about having the shield there. Like he could have gone for it. He could have probably been like, "Oh my gosh, is that?"
I felt it odd because Torres represents the government, and shouldn't he take it on behalf of them? I mean, I guess that speaks to who Torres is. Mm-hmm. That it didn't really mean anything. So, but that's why I'm thinking it was odd. It's like. They kind of might want to be wanting this back. I don't know, but good point. You brought
and I mean, I just kind of like the idea though that he was going straight for the wings. Like this is something that he kind of wants to be possibly, or like what he wants to become. And so it's nice to see that, you know, it doesn't necessarily matter who you want to be, who you want to follow. Like it does matter who the person behind it is, obviously. Right. And you can tell Torres looks up to Sam, and so it makes sense that he kind of wants to be the next Falcon. And then with Sam's nephews, you know, they're playing with the shield because I mean, who wouldn't if the shield was there in front of them? But like, it's cool that they do want to see in that moment. They do want to see themselves as Steve. And so when you get that scene at the end of the montage of him training with it, they're touching the shield again, but they're looking up to Sam. And it's like, now they can see themselves with Sam instead of Steve. And I think that's really cool. So the next scene is a little brief scene with Agent Carter. She's talking on the phone with someone speaking a different language. But later on you see that it was that one guy from the first episode.
Batroc.
Yeah, him. It was just a really small scene, but for me it just heavily implied that she probably is the power broker because she's able to get someone out of prison now.
Yeah, I mean, like all it did was to kind of I don't really know how interested Sharon really is in a pardon. She seems to really have gotten quite comfortable in her new life. It seems like. And it's interesting. I wonder how she's going to be handled going forward. She may be a main adversary of season 2 of this show. If that's the case.
That was my guess. Is that people are like, "Oh, who's the power broker? Who's the power broker?" And I'm like, I think it's just going to be Sharon, but they're not going to make a big deal out of it because I've got a feeling she's going to be like a possible main villain in season 2 or something. Yeah. And so I don't know. I want to say this now. Like, people, don't get your hopes up of who the power broker is. Like, I got a feeling that they're just gonna make it like a little mini surprise of it, and then
it's also kind of meaningless compared to everything else going on with this season, you know. So Yeah.
Mhm.
But I agree with you, heavily implied. But man, Sharon's got a cool place. It's a cool apartment that she's living in, that's for sure.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, she basically is sending Batroc to deliver weapons to the Flag Smashers, to Carly.
Mhm.
And it kind of like, at the very least, it comes across as kind of a duplicitous person she is, because I mean, you were led to believe that, you know, earlier on in the season that she was on the side with Sam and Bucky, and here she is propping up the Flag Smashers. And I guess I wonder if the reason she's helping them is because she needs Carly's blood for the super soldier serum.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, she is after that. If she is the power broker, she is after that super soldier serum. So that would make sense that she's coming to her own arrangements to get Carly's blood. One way or the other.
That makes a lot of sense. I really had like... Because if she is a power broker, I'm just kind of like, why are you helping her? Why are you doing this? But yeah, that really makes sense.
Yeah, don't be surprised if Batroc is secretly around to get Carly's blood one way or the other.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, he's with the Flag Smashers, and you find out that they're in New York, trying to stop a GRC vote from happening. Did they explain?
They're basically going to have a vote. The vote that they're going to have that night is to expedite what they were already planning on doing, which is to kick people out of the country.
Okay.
Because of what Carly did. To kind of expedite this process. And they're there to stop that.
Okay. And so, I mean, yeah, basically she's
yeah, go ahead and finish. Yeah.
I was going to say, basically she's going to be like a full-blown villain in this moment.
Well,
right
yeah.
here.
Yeah,
And
she even says in that moment, it's like, well, because like she's working with Batroc, and then one of her guys is like, we're working with criminals now. And Carly's a little bit nice. I would have said like, bitch, have you not been paying attention? We are criminals. Hello? I mean, we've only been killing people left and right.
Yeah.
I would have laughed in his face like, you're joking, right? But Carly was like, I mean, that's what they call us, yeah.
Yeah.
And these people are helping us, so.
Yeah. And then it cuts to a scene with Torres talking to Sam and telling him like, hey, these are the pings that we've been seeing in this part of the world. We recently just got one from New York. And that's when Sam decides, all right, this is it. That's where Carly is. Time to suit up. He opens a case.
Honestly, it was pretty, not to cut you off there, but I mean, he opens the case, right? And then we know what he's looking at, and they still don't show anything. Those bastards. They got to make us wait to the last episode. But don't worry. I have a feeling it's going to be as amazing as the Scarlet Witch reveal, if not better. So I don't mind waiting, but I knew those bastards were going to keep the camera long enough and then cut to black, and then it all went. There's the episode. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I can't wait.
But what I found hilarious in that moment was like, Sam was watching the news. Torres told him like, oh, there was a whole bunch of pings of Flag Smashers coming from New York. And then on the news, like the GRC is voting. And it was so easy to tell what was going to happen. Sam, and I guess Sam is the only person who knew of the Flag Smasher pings happening in New York. But like anybody with half a brain could have like, oh yeah, Carly's about to target the GRC vote. How could there not have been more security for that?
Well, they were the security though.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They did infiltrate it, but it just seemed pretty freaking obvious what was about to happen. Because the way Sam was like, I got it covered, Torres. Like, I'll take it from here.
Yeah.
Basically saying, I know what's going to happen. And yeah, I believe that brings us an end to the episode. Well, I mean, we see the GRC vote about to happen and they get hijacked. There we see the familiar senator who we've been seeing throughout the series. Hopefully he gets what's coming to him, based on what's going on. But I think that sequence also shows a little bit of how flawed Carly's approach is, however right it may be in her mind. Because while we're seeing that sequence occur, there are allies in that council. There were people that were basically saying, wait a minute, we're not really going to do this, are we? We're just going to round people up like cattle and kick them out? Mm-hmm. I mean, hello, the Trail of Tears? This happened in this country? Like, there's a bad history of that happening. Mm-hmm. And that there were people in that council who were basically saying, Carly may have a point here. I mean, not directly, but and then of course, presumably that she's about to execute all of them. Shows a little bit of a lot of flaws in Carly's approach there, in that instance. Mm-hmm. But then the episode ends. But wait, there's more.
Yeah, so there's an after credit scene. It's basically John Walker creating his very own shield, and he's making it out of like the metals that he's gotten. It's a cheap shield basically. But one thing I like, someone said that this scene is the best representation of a stalker, basically.
Oh my god.
And I mean, it's basically what it is. Like, he's become obsessed now of becoming Captain America and staying Captain America. And so there's going to be a whole bunch of... It's like WandaVision. Like, there's going to be a bunch of battles going on in between. So, I mean, hopefully this one's, like, a bit more coordinated and a bit more fun than WandaVision.
Mm-hmm. I have a feeling it would be. I think so far the action has been phenomenal. So it's a pretty high stakes set piece. It may even encapsulate most of the episode. Mm-hmm. We may have the debut of this Falcon in this new Falcon Captain America suit. We have the Flag Smashers going all 9/11. It seems like that's what they're going for. And then you have this deranged lunatic coming out of nowhere that's out for blood anywhere he gets it. So it seems off the bat like a pretty chaotic setup.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the end of the episode.
Great episode, and teases some big stuff next week. I don't have many takes for this week that I've rounded up because it mainly is the same thing. And to be quite honest with you, it is exhausting. It is just exhausting having to address this every single week. But there are still a bunch of numbskulls out there that refuse to see the subtext all dripping throughout this episode. They still cannot understand why a Falcon and Winter Soldier show is political. There were some tweets out there that were making fun of Sebastian Stan, saying that, Steve Rogers didn't understand what a black man being Captain America would mean. It's just tiring. It's just tiring to have to talk about this every single week. Like, I don't know what is it going to take for people to get the point? And I think it's like we may even be beyond the usual crowd that's like, we don't want politics in our shows. I think this is just, we're now going to a subset of people who just do not comprehend on any level the text involved and what it's pointing to. Mm. And I'm kind of tired of explaining it. I mean, I think we have been throughout this episode about what it really all means. And if you have a problem with it, I think you need to reevaluate your priorities if that's the case. Mm-hmm. There were some tweets that I looked at, but I really, really struggle to even bother mentioning them with the talking points. David, do you have anything to say about the reactions that you've been seeing for Falcon and the Winter Soldier regarding this area? People who've had issues with the whole anything of it as far as the messaging and the politics?
No, I mean, I'm with you. Like, it all gets tiring. Like, I don't understand why you can't put an effort in actually, like, trying to understand the subtext, accepting the fact that this is the truth about our country and about some of the politics in our world. And it's just stupid to just keep saying, like, stop putting politics into these things. There's politics in all kinds of stories. It's there. Yes, I understand that some tell the stories better than others. But to say, like, oh, but it's not beating it over our heads. It's like, no, it is. It is. You're trying so hard to ignore it, but it's there.
Yeah, I will quote one tweet. This is a great name for a Twitter handle. His @better with bacon, which is, I mean, yeah, everything's better with bacon. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But he quote tweeted the person that I said that the worst dialogue I've ever seen with Bucky, saying that he and Steve could never understand what it would mean to be a black man with the title of Captain America, and him saying, "Some of y'all need it explained, so the black dude will do it for you." I guess he's talking about himself. Bucky is apologizing because he understands that being mad at Sam for not taking the shield was childish. He sees now what it means for Sam, a black man, to take the title of Captain America. It's that easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what to say, but that was our show this week, guys. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that you will come back for our review of the finale. Man, we're already at the finale next week for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It kind of flew by. I mean, it really, really did flew by.
Yeah.
And it will be kind of bittersweet because I'm not really ready to say goodbye to this show. It's been so entertaining to watch and so enjoyable to discuss on a 2-week basis. But, yeah. As a reminder, our shows every Sunday, sometimes on Thursdays. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, stay under the spotlight. Thank you, David. Thank you all. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.